Hey, welcome. I am Fred Wellman. I am the host of On the Line with VoteVets. I am a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, served 22 years, couple combat tours. Well, it's debate night. It's over. Welcome to joining us here. I hope you'll have a good night. We have a great lineup of guests. We've got great co-hosts to hang out with me, people you know, people you may not know. VoteVets is proud to host this first time ever post-debate spin room. And I'm not going to waste any time. I know you're all kind of spinning right now because that was incredible. Let me bring in my friends Rachel and Mike. Come on in. You may know her. Rachel Vindman, of course, is a powerful voice for suburban women in the country. You may have heard of her husband. This thing happened a few years ago with him and the president. And of course, Mike Levine, retired Army Sergeant Major, Senior Advisor of VoteVets. And we're so glad to have all you guys here. Guys, welcome. Let's just go. What was that all about? Rachel, what'd you think of that?
I think Donald Trump has Trump derangement syndrome, and it's incurable. I just cannot wait till the next time I'm in an argument with Alex and I'm going to say, did I say that? And my other favorite line from the debate is that I'm sorry, I already forgot it. He has plans for a plan or a concept of a plan, what he was talking
Yeah.
about for healthcare, which I mean, all joking aside, promised a healthcare plan, a new healthcare plan, his entire presidency. So when he ended the debate talking about if they want to do this, why didn't they do it? He did the same thing. And anytime you're talking to anyone who wants to start talking those talking points, the same thing can be said about Donald Trump. So it's nonsensical. Since she's never been president, he was, and he didn't do any of the things that he promised to do. No border security, none of that. So, I mean, it was a disaster for him, and I'm happy.
Yep. Mike, quick thoughts.
If we could classify that as elder abuse, I think I would be okay with that. She manhandled him. She manhandled him in a way that I would say definitively Donald Trump has it's never happened to him before, or it's happened probably a handful of times in his life. He looked like he was barely able to contain himself most of the time that she was speaking. The fact that she reminded everyone watching tonight that 81 million people fired him in 2020, and he had to stand still and be quiet and take it, it had to absolutely just gall him. And so watching him stew, I took a little bit of pleasure in that. So conversely, watching Kamala Harris's facial expressions to some of the just over the type hyperbole that came out of Donald Trump's mouth, we are seeing the beginning of, I think, like class A top-notch memes, like as they were happening. Those reaction shots, we're going to be seeing those for decades. I really believe.
It's a good place to bring in Chuck Rocha. Chuck, of course, political advisor, strategist. He's got a lot of background. Chuck, welcome to the show. Everybody knows Chuck Rocha. Chuck has a lot of great work. You've prepped candidates for debates. We know coming in here, I actually have some stuff I saved, and some of the headlines of about what to expect from Kamala Harris. She has the most to lose at the debate. Will Prosecutor Harris or Vice President show up? The unique pressures of being Kamala Harris. I mean. How do you think it went? I mean, there was certain expectation. I think your first impression. What were your expectations? Did Kamala Harris meet the moment?
Well, it was a really important night, Fred. Thanks for having me, and thanks for VoteVets and all the listeners out there and people that are watching all around the country. VoteVets is very personal for me, very special for me. I've gotten to work on and off with VoteVets for over 10 years. John Soltz is one of my dear friends. Wishing him all the best down in Florida. So I'm really honored to be here. I don't take this lightly. I think what y'all are doing is really changing the direction of politics. I've worked in campaigns for 34 years, Fred. As you said, I'm an old head, an old Mexican redneck living here. Now, what happened tonight was you got to see an old-fashioned, as we used to say in East Texas, a good old-fashioned butt whooping. My papa would have said an ass kicking, but that's what you saw tonight. Now, folks needed to see is something that they got to see. I think that's why everybody's so ginned up on my social media channels is they didn't need her to lose tonight. And she did more than not lose. She won and showed what it does when you have an adult sit there and take him on. As somebody who's prepped presidential candidates, I've gotten to run a presidential campaign several times. it just struck me as an old redneck from East Texas that he would not look at her. Like every other bully that I have ever been around in my entire life, when you come face to face with somebody, he couldn't even face her. So as John was saying a while ago, when she would turn and make a facial expression towards him, he would not even look at her, which showed her to be in a position of strength over him, which was a big part of her success tonight.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think, you saw, I guess prosecutor showed up, right? I mean, I think the prosecutor showed up. I thought one interesting aspect of it for me, Chuck, was she did a brilliant job of getting in his head, right? So the piece where she talked about his rally numbers, you can see, if you've watched Trump for years, you can see his brain just go away, right? She did that he inherited $400 million. His brain just goes away. And she set that trap, and he just walked into it every time, didn't he?
He walked into every single one of them. Again, as somebody who has gave somebody a preparation for where you land these landmines, normally you might get somebody to accidentally walk into one every now and then. But every time she'd put down a little piece of cheese, he would run right over and gobble it up and just walk around the room with it for a while, doing exactly what she wanted him to do. That's what I'm saying. As a debate coach and somebody who's done this is exactly, and you normally don't get this, somebody who will take every little chunk. And so it played right into her hands. And that there's so many things he could have took her on about and made her have to be defensive about that he never could even have time to talk about because he was too busy eating the bait that she was dropping on the ground.
Yeah, and that really is a brilliant technique. It's a lawyer technique, I think, right? And I think we saw it. So flipping to him, I mean, you did mention, he was mad, right? He just, if you've been a Trump, you're like me, Chuck. What did you think, Rachel? He was big mad, wasn't he?
You could just see it on his face. I mean, he wasn't even looking at her facial expressions, but he knew she was laughing at him. And he was so angry. He was even flushing underneath his orange makeup. And I mean, not okay, but he really was. He was so frustrated, and he continued only to talk about himself. I mean, I thought it was just, as Chuck said, he took all the bait. It was exactly what you would want. I think it was what I wanted.
Chuck?
There's a lot of independents out there that are undecided now, a little sliver in 7 battleground states that will make up the difference in this election. And tonight, those who say that they're going to vote for Trump, but they don't like Trump, we're looking for a reason not to like Kamala Harris. She did not give any of them that reason tonight. She gave them a reason to like her. And I say this on TV all the time. Presidential campaigns are not like your local congressional race or Senate race. Those are based on lots of policy about what are you going to do to make my life better. When it comes to President of the United States, half of this is all baked in. Half the country likes Team Red, other half the country likes Team Red, Team Blue. What you're looking for here is somebody who's trustworthy and likable. The voter really just wants somebody that they really think they can just trust and that they like. That's why I thought she looked good. I thought that when she smiled, she did that in a good way. While, as y'all are just saying, he was just scowling the whole time. So as again, somebody who is a visual coach to folks that are on TV, she knocked it out of the park because she looked approachable. She looked kind, and she also looked tough when she needed to be tough. And for a woman candidate, this is a very sexist country that we live in lots of ways. And when I have to coach women are judged so harshly compared to men as candidates. She was brilliant in being able to show sensibilities, but also toughness tonight.
Mike, you're an ex-broadcaster. For those who know, Mike was an infantryman, but he was also a broadcast specialist, journalist for the United States Army. What was you saw that visual too?
Yeah, well, listen, we used to talk about PCCs and PCIs all the time in uniform, pre-combat checks, pre-combat inspections. And what that really comes down to is being prepared to meet the moment when it's time to meet the moment. And I think that inevitably when somebody writes a book about this campaign on the Trump side, we're going to find out that he didn't prepare for this. He was not, he probably did the whole, I'm the best debater ever. I don't need any of the help. And Kamala Harris just oozed preparation. You could tell that someone had been in a room with her for multiple hours over multiple days, repetition after repetition. And she was rehearsed, she was prepared, and she was composed in a way that I just don't think he is physically or mentally capable of being. For a guy that, again, brags about his success in business and his billions, you would think that somebody like that walking into a boardroom or working on a merger or an acquisition would have to have a degree of composure and stability. I guess he just found the really best people to do things like that, because it certainly wasn't him.
And Chuck, he did his lies, his usual lies. Rachel, we're gonna get to that. He did his usual lies and stuff, right? I mean, it really did seem like he was going to fall back on his usual talking point. And do you think maybe Chuck, because he said he rehearsed. I saw a news report from ABC prior to the debate that he had been actually prepping with Tulsi Gabbard and Matt Gaetz. I know we're saying, I can't believe I just said that out loud.
I know.
Tulsi Gabbard and Matt Gaetz, Okay, but he did a prep, right? I mean,
what could possibly go wrong?
Did it, Chuck? Didn't work, did it, Chuck?
Exactly right. And so there's no doubt that he probably did some preparation, but to John's point, which I think is right on, I'm sure it was lackluster. I'm sure he was like, look, guys, I've got this. Sure, let's think of some ways to push back. And I'm sure that the people around him, La Savita and others, have said, all right, what we want to concentrate is her changing positions, her talking about defunding the police, or anything that she may have done in her past. Again, is a way that you could have used tonight. He could have used tonight to try to put her on the defensive. She probably would have had a great rebuttal, and I think she was well prepared, again, to John's point. But he never got there because he was too busy eating the bait that she was putting out in front of him, which is a masterclass in debate. And Fred, you mentioned about her prosecutor background, having that great education. People that have been lawyers spend a lot of time in memorization preparation. And anytime I've ever prepped a lawyer who was a candidate in debates, whether it was a congressional or others, they can remember their lines and remember what they want to say. And to John's point, again, you could tell tonight she had things in her mind she wanted to say when he hit on certain topics. She would lay the bait down. He would then couldn't think about anything in the question except for what the size of his rallies were or something else she'd said about how some foreign leader doesn't like him. And then she would make a point, and then she would say something else, which was what she had prepared to respond to it. So that's why for us professionals in this, it was a masterclass in what you do. And I think that he's never really had somebody really do that to him, because he's only debated really Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. I think that's why you see it very different tonight.
Well, I got break news. We have breaking news.
Wow.
Maybe you may have seen me looking off camera just now. Rachel, you caught it first. What's the breaking? I don't think Chuck knows. Tell us, Rachel, what just happened?
On Instagram, Taylor Swift officially endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Karma is my boyfriend.
She put up a long
but what's the best part? The best part is she signed it Taylor Swift, childless cat lady.
That is, you're right. That is.
Hey, can one of you guys, one of our producers find that screenshot? Give it to me.
That is amazing.
So that's huge, guys. So she said she watched the debate and what she saw, and she's decided that she's going to support Harris Wall's campaign. Man, I got to tell you guys, that is giant.
As somebody who is married to a Swiftie, we have had, and is also a newlywed. I've only been married 30 days as of today. Mia and my beautiful wife, Ebony, have this ongoing debate of when. She's like, I know she's going to do it, but when does she does it? And I've been saying to her as we've had these conversations, I said, she'll do it when it means the most, right before folks start voting. And what I want to say is folks in Wisconsin will start voting next week. Folks in North Carolina should have started voting this week, but they delayed it because they had to take Kennedy off the ballot. So they'll start voting next week. So the timing is a chef's kiss to be an impeccable for another political pro here who's saying she's doing it at the right time. She's doing it after a debate, so folks can't say that she's always done it, that she listened to the information, made an educated decision, and will have the biggest impact to the hundreds of millions of followers who look up to her and all of her songs and her music.
Wow. Well, that's huge. I know you got to replace it to be, Chuck. I don't want to keep you all night. We got some more guests lined up. Cool. Man, Chuck, thank you so much for joining us. It's such a privilege and honor to have you on our team and joining us tonight. This is an important moment in our time. And man, I guess what final thought, Chuck?
Have a great show tonight and keep doing what you're doing. And for all of you out there listening, VoteVets is doing some of the best work all around the country in congressional races and Senate races. And when you talk about who's really mobilizing our military to be involved in every election that there is, it's VoteVets. I'm proud to work with them, around them, and I'm proud to be on your show. Fred, John, the rest of you, thank you so much for having me and giving me this great honor.
You're very much, Chuck. Look forward to seeing you soon, my friend.
Be good.
Well, so you guys, Taylor Swift's in. I mean, we joke about that. Every talk about celebrities, but look, the Swifties are a very powerful movement, and I think that's going to be a big thing. We've seen a lot of comments about the national security aspects, the answers on Ukraine. I really wanted to bring in former Representative Max Rose. He's part of our team at VoteVets to talk about the national security. Let's welcome Max Rose. Hello, sir. Good to see you.
How's it
Good to see
going?
you again.
Good to see you too.
Our first impressions, Max. What'd you think?
I really appreciated the point that Rachel made earlier about the healthcare answer that Trump gave, where he basically said, "I have no plan," right? So I'm moving on vibes here, and that's largely as well what the former president said about national security. Whether it's Israel, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's China, whether it's preparing our military for the threats of the 21st century, or whether it's, and this is obviously the most important thing that a president does, which is be prepared for the unforeseen.
Yeah.
He said, it's just me. This is what you get, and we'll figure it out. And all of you understand this because you've lived national security in varied ways. That is just not good enough. But the second point here, and I really want to focus on Ukraine. Yeah. He promised to reward Russia.
Right.
That's what this guy is saying, right? When he was asked a very direct question, do you care if Ukraine wins? He says, no, right? When a politician doesn't answer a question, they are answering the question. He says, no. Okay, so what's the logical next point that he would be making if he could form two cognitive, clear, coherent sentences in a row?
The ability to do that, yeah.
It would be, well, I'm going to give Russia some of Ukraine. And then if we were to really follow this, trail of deduction, what message does that then send to our adversaries throughout the world? What message does that send to our allies in Europe? Just saying, the war is going to end. Fine, great, but he's forgetting or not acknowledging the disastrous consequences of the policies that he is actually advocating for.
Yep. Yeah.
Hey,
and
Max,
that's exactly what it is. Go ahead.
Max, I'm wondering what you think of Trump's landlord mentality as it pertains to NATO. So every time he talks about NATO, he goes into they weren't paying up. They weren't paying enough. I made them pay. And it's almost like he equates the amount of money that NATO countries spend, the portion of GDP that they spend on defense, with like rent, right?
Yeah.
Like how can we have a person like this responsible for maintaining what is easily the most important alliance in the world? I don't really know how to process this.
Well, everything with Donald Trump is a very short-term zero-sum game.
Yeah.
And so for him, the win is, a couple more bucks, right? That's it. That's the win. But what I think he's forgetting about consistently is that his policies make it much more likely that the United States of America will expend horrific levels of blood and treasure, because he is unwilling to engage in the tried and true methods of prevention that we know work, right? And that's what is so scary about him is not just his fixation on, a couple of dollars, right? It's the disastrous consequences or potential consequences of that short-termist thinking. And then, I think the other point here as well, and we all saw this in varied places in national security, efforts. You can't do anything unilaterally when it comes to national security any longer. And guess what as well? You can't tell allies what to do, right? Like it just doesn't ever work that way. It's the hardest thing to do, whether it's in everything from cyber to actual kinetic warfare. And so this consistent, adversarial posture that he has towards our allies, where they're the enemy, I have America's back. He doesn't talk to Russia that way, he doesn't talk to North Korea that way. It makes it ever more unlikely after the fact that there will be real collaboration, proactive collaboration to address the real national security threats that we face.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you think about his bringing up his character witness, his good friend Viktor Orban?
It's.
I mean, he doesn't understand anything more today than he did when he entered the White House on January 20th, 2016, or when he left office, or now. And it's so frustrating to me because I cannot understand this like mindset of not wanting to know, but he doesn't care. NATO is not a golf club that you pay dues to, and that's how he describes it. And the problem is, like, it's funny and we can make fun of it, but the problem is he's taught a whole group of people that this is what it is, and they believe him. So now, they parrot these talking points, and they're wrong, and we all know they're wrong, but it's gotten into, like, it's something that we have to dispel because people don't know any better, and it's really frustrating. But the way he spoke about Viktor Orban was kind of sickening to me. But sorry, so now what do you think about it?
I completely agree with you. I mean, the only thing I would add, because I really think you hit the nail on the head, it is he does know that Viktor Orban is, and it doesn't just stop with him, right? There's plenty of others.
Yeah.
There's an
strong man.
You
call him a strong man.
He really admires them. Really
he wants to be them.
And I thought Kamala had a pretty good answer. Guys, I got a clip with when Kamala came back in, talk about his love for dictators. If you don't mind me running a clip real quick, guys.
Yeah.
It is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on national security, including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Pretty good answer, Max. What do you think?
Well, look, I really admired the way in which the vice president took back the rhetoric that we have lost over the prior generation. Disgrace, weak. These were the words that they wrongfully used against us for so long. And part of it, and what I really admire so much about VoteVets is that part of the founding DNA of VoteVets is this notion of never again to being swift voted, right? This idea that we're going to take a veteran, a Purple Heart recipient, and we're going to make him weak. And what the vice president did today is he said, no, you're not going to make this prosecutor, this vice president who has dealt with some of the most complex national security challenges imaginable. You're not going to make me the weak one on national security. You're not going to make anyone think that I don't support our military. And that that comes down to the rhetoric that you use and the visceral nature of it. So I just really admire the way she employed those tools.
I agree. And they came out, and one of the big issues we thought we were going to talk about Afghanistan. Of course, Afghanistan withdrawal has been a big issue. Trump's stunt in Arlington was a big issue. They've been really trying to pound. My understanding is he actually invited some of those Gold Star families to the debate night tonight, which was the watch party they went to because they weren't in the room. Classy shit that he always does. Sorry. She gave a pretty good answer, I thought, on the Afghanistan withdrawal from her side of it. Let's watch that real quick. Okay.
It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David.
There you go. Max, what do you think of that? That's a pretty good answer, I thought.
No, it was a phenomenal answer. Every soldier and service member who is lost in combat is an unspeakable tragedy. And that certainly was the case during the withdrawal, just as that was the case for the tens of soldiers and service members who died in combat in Afghanistan under Trump, right? Who he never talks about. And nonetheless, their sacrifice is just as noble and heroic. But I think amidst all of this, and this is why, you can't separate politics from national security. Afghanistan was the right thing to do. And the United States of America and its taxpayers and in the broader security world as well benefits from that decision. And those two facts can coexist, right? We can honor the sacrifices of the fallen and praise their families and tell them that we will always be there for them, and that the memories of their family, their fallen family members, will never be forgotten, while at the same time acknowledging that the policy decision itself has proven to be correct. And that is such an awfully fine line to walk, politically speaking, and the vice president accomplished that today.
Yeah, and longest war in American history. 20 years is a long war, multi-generational war. I was in Iraq in the global war on terror. I went to Iraq in 2003, and my son-in-law went to Iraq in 2012.
Wow.
That it's hard to fathom that with an all-volunteer military. I don't think the average American understands that. I thought it was brave, Mike. Would you? I thought it was kind of braver to say, "Hey, we ended that." I mean, I don't think we've seen that conversation before. Any of us have. I don't know the four of us. I think that's the first time I've ever seen her or even Biden stand and say, "You're damn right, I ended that war." I mean, Mike, have you guys ever seen that before?
I haven't seen it, but I really wish she had leaned in just a little bit more, because what America needs is a leader who takes responsibility, not just for their own actions, but for the actions of their administration. And while I'm sure you won't find her name or her stamp on any withdrawal orders or any redeployment orders, she's a major part of that administration. And I wish she had leaned in and said, yes, I do accept responsibility for this, and let the cards fall or the chips fall as they may, because nobody so far has accepted any responsibility. Nobody has said the buck stops with me. This is my burden. I call the ownership of this particular issue. And I think even if she didn't own the issue, I think she would get the credit for at least being willing to stand up and take some of the heat. Because listen, the Biden administration owns a good chunk of that, just as much as the Trump administration owns for their section, just as much as the Obama administration owns, just, going all the way back to, now what, 23 years later.
Yeah.
I think it would be a good contrast if she had leaned in a little bit more, but she still did a good job. But to Trump repeatedly saying, when given the opportunity, January 6th, Charlottesville, he just, no responsibility. I took no responsibility. I didn't do anything, which is what he always says. But I mean, when you're president of the United States, as you said, you got to take the good with the bad. I mean, you are in charge. You are who we're electing. You would never hire someone for any job, much less arguably the most powerful job in the world, who is not willing to take responsibility. Someone who can't say, I'm going to do the best, and when I make a mistake, I'll admit it. And that's what he does time and time again. I mean, again, there's a lot to kind of, be happy about and make fun of him for. But the reality is, in less than 2 months, we are going to elect someone to run our country. And it's going to determine truly the future of our nation and the direction. Do we continue to be a democracy, or do we slide into authoritarianism? And it is just part of a democracy and self-rule. You can only do it if you're reflective. And if not, then you have the Viktor Orbáns, you have the Vladimir Putins, people who go down the wrong path. They can't correct. Putin can't correct on Ukraine because he's not capable of admitting he was wrong. And it's such a vital, character trait of a true leader. And it's something that I hope that we see highlighted in the coming days for people to really emphasize that.
Yep. Max, I thank you. Appreciate your time. We're gonna get a couple more guests waiting in the green room. Any last thoughts, Max? I mean,
just thank you again. I'm such an admirer of the three of you. So this has been a really great.
I like to watch you on the briefings. I always log in, and then people ask Alex questions, and I'm like, but I want to hear from Max and the political stuff. So.
All right, well, you're stuck now, Max. You're like on the guest list now.
Yeah,
you're gonna be coming back, brother. I got bad news for you. So.
Yeah.
Thanks, Max. I wanted to show you, that was great. So we did get the clip of Taylor Swift. If you haven't seen it, let's bring up the screenshot of Taylor's endorsement of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz tonight. There it is. Cat picture. Of course, there's a so yeah, it's official. And she didn't just do it lightly. She wrote a pretty big I think we had the full statement too somewhere in there. Yeah, I mean, it goes on for a while, but I love with love and hope, Taylor Swift, childless cat lady. So shit's getting real. I want to bring in our next guest. He's been waiting for a while. God bless him. Patrick Murphy is this is one of those guys, one of those resumes that it's like you got to pick a bio with Patrick. So first he was an officer in the Army, second in the 82nd Airborne, which is fine. I'm a 101st guy. Let's bring Patrick in. He was the first member of the Global War on Terror to go to the Congress. He was the deputy secretary, assistant with secretary of the Army, acting secretary of the Army, and now he's still helping veterans around the world. I don't know, Patrick. Welcome to the show, brother. It's great to see you again.
Hey, Fred, Rachel, and Mike. It's great to be with you guys. What a great night for democracy, great night for America. Right. There is no doubt that the eyes of the world were looking at what was going on in Philadelphia today, and bad things do happen in Philadelphia. Bad things for Donald Trump and the cronies that he tries to bring with him back down to Washington.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the picture. He actually flew in with Laura Loomer. on the plane. If that just tells you, who you hang with says a lot about you. There was quite a bit of, there was a bit of a talk about, well, obviously a lot of things, the January 6th came up. Let's go to January 6th. Patrick, obviously we all pretty passionate about January 6th. There was discussion of January 6th, his response. I actually think I had the clip of Trump talk about January 6th, his response. Let me run this clip of him on January 6th. I'd love to get your opinion on this one, Patrick.
On television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes,
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago, her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
That was my first, what the F? I think, I'm in a hotel room right now, and I'm sure the neighbors were like, it's shocking, Patrick. The idea the Speaker of the House was in charge of security for the Capitol. It's ridiculous beyond measure, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, there's no accountability whatsoever. And that's he's just a narcissist. There's no other way to say it. He does not want to admit any faults. David Muir did a great job following up saying, isn't there anything that you regret? Here you have 140 police officers injured, 5 later died by suicide. And Trump wants to rally against the woman that the police told her to stop 18 times, and she was trying to go to execute members of Congress on the floor of the Capitol. It's just really disheartening to see, frankly, a former president of the United States flail like that time and time again, flailing on January 6th, flailing about making stuff up about, immigrants eating American pets, cats and dogs, flailing about they had to ask him twice, well, hey, you just admitted that you lost by a whisker. I didn't say that. Well, no, I heard you say it. Well, no, I was being sarcastic. All right, well, did you lose or not? No, I didn't lose. It's like he was all over the map, and he didn't like the fact that they were pushing back on, when he made up his own facts again. Things such as, well, the Democrats, this former governor of West Virginia said that women, they have babies and they just determined to execute them. It's just like, what? No, and I listen, I think if there is moderate Republicans out there, and especially independents, they are saying, I am moving on. I want a new generation leader. And I really thought Kamala Harris did a great job unifying our country, saying, hey, listen, this is about a new generation of leadership. This is about a new vision for America. Let's turn the page. Let's not go back. We are not going back. Let's move forward.
Hey, Patrick, you are much like Pete Buttigieg, one of the only Democrats that we see regularly on Fox News, and you were on there tonight and earlier tonight. I have to ask you, when is the next hit, and what is the level of cope that you think is going to come from Fox guests and Fox hosts in the wake of this absolutely disastrous debate performance by Donald Trump?
Yeah, listen, they've been drinking a Kool-Aid, and I'm on tomorrow at noon on Fox Business with Neil Cavuto, who's a pretty straight shooter, and I expect to have a lively conversation. Listen, they're gonna blame the moderators, they're gonna blame the debate rules, they're gonna blame everyone except former President Trump, and that's the reality of it. They've been sucking up to him, making it sound like the economy is in a tank and all this stuff. It's like, time out. And I thought Kamala Harris did a good job. You net lost jobs, 10 million jobs under your watch. We brought back 15 million new jobs. She was on it, and he kept just, there was no real meat to the bone. He just kept saying, "Oh, it's the greatest economy ever," and this is now the worst economy ever. And luckily, I thought the moderators did a good job. I mean, it's for the president of the United States. Well, when the guy can't say, "Well, I have the concept plans for healthcare," it's like, dude, go back to work, my friend, because you're not ready for prime time.
So just as a PS to this Fox piece, so, former Fox guy, Chris Wallace, Republicans Against Trump, just dropped a tweet about 3 minutes ago with a quote from him in the post-game analysis on CNN. And Chris Wallace said, quote, I didn't think I was ever going to witness a debate as devastating as the one back in June. I think tonight was just as devastating. Trump looked angry, scowling, and old. I think that is just hitting the nail right on the head there from CNN's Chris Wallace.
A number of our comments have said that they caught on Fox. That Fox is saying that Trump lost, that he got his ass kicked. So that's
Mark Thiessen specifically. He was on right afterwards, and he said, "Listen, he was complaining about the moderators." And he goes, "I know if we're complaining about the moderators, that means we didn't win, and and it's a losing argument." I think they all know it. I mean, some will admit it, some will not, but the reality of it is she did a phenomenal job at taking it to him. She didn't take crap. She looked presidential. She was unifying, though, at the same time. But when she called him out, rightfully so, on the Central Park Five, when she called him out on questioning Barack Obama's citizenship in America, when she called him out saying, you don't get to say if I'm black or not black. You got to stop dividing our country. Our country, especially with race, does not want to be divided anymore. We want to move forward.
I've got that clip. Let's look at that clip. I mean, of course, there's also the here we go. We'll do that one.
Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, there's just,
Yeah. He was flailing all over the place. And I just think that because she was so strong, because she didn't take crap, I mean, I thought her facial expressions were appropriately dismissive of him.
Perfection.
Rachel, I was going to ask you what you thought as a woman. I mean, I liked how she was, but sometimes women are more critical than other women.
There was
I love your
someone just sent a picture, and I said, sorry, I don't know, but here, I don't know. I mean, I'll just show it on my phone. But, I said, can we? Sorry, this is very low tech. This is me. I said, can we put this on money? Just this. Sorry, like this picture.
The look of her face.
That look.
There you go.
Can we put that on money?
Smirk.
Because
it's so good.
It's like, we're not doing this, and that's what we needed her to do, was just to say, like, to really put him in his place, because no one has. I mean, the frustration with that, for me, honestly, from 2016 to now, it just is so frustrating to me that tonight, finally, someone spoke to him the way he deserves to be spoken to, not because I don't like him, but because that's the way he always talks about everyone else. Like, the way he spoke about all the people that he fired. Well, if they were so bad, why did you hire in the first place? I almost cursed. Why did you hire them? Why were they ever hired? And that is something no one ever mentions. I mean, people talk about it on social media, but it's true. Why did you hire John Kelly? Why did you hire General Mattis? Why did you hire McMaster? Or what was that one guy who was Secretary of State for 10 minutes? Yeah. I mean, he did. Esper got a shout out. Yeah, but I mean, 4 years ago today, Facebook reminded me that we woke up to him talking about my husband. No, Vindman knew the call itself to the Ukrainian president was perfect, but also knew the whistleblower report described the call incorrectly, way off. I mean, this is the kind of unchecked, just BS that has gone on for so long. And she called him on it. And to the moderator's credit, I know I've seen some Democrats like complain about the moderators. I mean, guys,
A little bit.
there's only
I mean,
so much you
he
can
got the
do.
mic. He got
Like,
the mic a lot, you know. But
yeah, but I mean, like, there's only so
whatever.
much you can do. We wanted to talk a little bit, but what I thought, she was absolutely brilliant. And like some of our other guests have said, I think the important thing is people needed a reason to vote for her. They needed a reason not to vote for Donald Trump. I think both things happened tonight, and I am just absolutely elated.
And can I just make, because I think Rachel's right on. It's why he should not be rehired. And I thought her line that he was fired by 81 million Americans was very strong. He
Oh my
didn't like
God, he
that.
hates that.
I'd also say if I'm an independent, I'm always trying to have empathy and think about, put myself in other folks' shoes. And for most of my life, I was independent. But I would say this: if you're an independent out there and Donald Trump can't answer the question to, do you want Ukraine to win? And he was asked twice and he couldn't answer that question. He said, I just want to stop. I just want to stop. It's basically like he just wants to cut a deal. He has no principles. He has no morals. He has no values. And I thought she took it to him. And that was the beginning of the unraveling, I thought, in the first half, where it started to go downhill for him.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Patrick, thanks for joining us. We're going to start wrapping soon. Any last thoughts before I let you go, sir? We kept you late. We made you sit in the green room for a while.
Yeah, no, listen, I would just say to the folks out there, one, thanks so much. I love your guys' show. Love VoteVets. But it is now time for action. We are 56 days away. So, do what you can do, contribute, door knock, reach out, and don't play it easy, right? Go to folks, make it uncomfortable. Go to folks, hey, are you voting? Do you have a plan? Because we cannot leave this the chance. We can't, put our eye, we had a great debate. Most folks in America will not have watched tonight. So do what we got to do. Thanks for having me. Love you guys. And I'll talk to you all soon.
Appreciate you, brother. We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Well, I mean, honestly, it sounds, everything's flooding in. I don't know if you guys, how your phones are doing. My phone's exploding.
Yes.
We have 43,000 people just hanging out with us right now. Thank you for that, by the way, larger than my hometown. I wonder if there's a couple of things we didn't touch on. There's we didn't get a chance to talk about Project 2025 too much. Some of the comments about Project 2025. I loved it.
He's never heard of it, Fred. What are you talking about?
Let's watch that. Let's watch that clip.
It's not his idea.
It's not his idea. So let's watch him talk about that.
That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs...
Yeah, I mean, he can't even keep up. Of course, Project 2025 is his plan, because you know why? Because Agenda 47 is his plan, and the exact same damn thing. It's on his website. We just had a conversation the other day about Project 2025, its effect on military and veterans. Obviously, his denials are empty promises because he's asking for the same things. Mike.
Yeah, listen, the veterans section of Project 2025 is terrifying. The defense section, if you've served in uniform, if you supported someone in uniform, if you just really appreciate having a professional military, it's terrifying. All of the guardrails that kept Donald Trump from doing the things that he wanted to do during the summer of unrest in 2020, and then leading up into what should have been a peaceful transition of power in 2021, those guardrails would be removed if the defense section of Project 2025 was adopted wholesale. basically doing a straight culling of the general officer corps to remove people that were promoted under the Obama administration or the Biden administration, and having basically a loyalty test to Donald Trump. Much like General Milley said, not swearing the oath of allegiance to a man or a dictator or wannabe dictator. They're going to get rid of those officers that swore the oath to the Constitution. He only wants to hear yes, sir. He doesn't want to have any pushback on the use of uniformed military for the deportation of illegal immigrants. He doesn't want to use, or he doesn't want anyone to say no to the use of the military for domestic law enforcement or riot control. I mean, if this is just left unchecked, it's gonna dramatically change the face of our country. And even if we just ignore the defense side, right? Even if we just put that aside and look at the veteran section, the cuts to our veterans benefits, particularly through the Veterans Health Administration, the ability for this older, sicker population of veterans to find care where they are, to put money back into VA facilities and improve them, but instead push them out into communities that aren't prepared to accept them capacity-wise and that suffer from their own individual shortages of specialty care that this older, sicker population needs. Dumpster fire is really just kind of a dismissive term. It's too light of a term to put on it. It's bone chilling is what it is.
Yeah.
And we can't, he needs to own it. We cannot stop. We keep, all gas, no brake, but it's important that we don't get caught up and that we keep tying him to these things. And I know we're wrapping up, but I would just, one of the things that he talked about that just is very personal to me because my husband is an immigrant, is he continued to demonize immigrants. And I just actually recorded, it's going to be coming out soon. I interviewed Alex and other people, a 3-part special podcast series about immigration. Talked to a lot of people. I'm very proud of it. But, one of the things we talk about are the number of immigrants serving in our armed forces, the number of non-citizens who are doing it to become not only, but, to serve. And, the reason why my husband served in the military is he wanted to pay back the country that gave him a safe harbor from authoritarianism. And that's what the service, really why he did it. So, but to hear, it's again, it's so ridiculous that we laugh at it because you can't, but talking about the Haitian immigrants, but the truth is this is a vulnerable community. When he says these things, they matter. When JD Vance says these things and he is putting their lives in danger, and I can say this as someone who his life was put in danger, my family's safety was put in danger because of Donald Trump, because it's not him, it's the insanity that surrounds him, that people buy into it, they believe it. You have to look at the Pizzagate in DC. People do stupid things because they believe this. And that's what he's inviting on the Haitian community, who is just trying to survive and provide for their family the same as you and me and everyone else. So I'm glad it came up because he, again, took the bait, and it's so ludicrous, but we cannot forget that there are real people's lives at stake here, even though it sounds so stupid.
Yeah, it's shocking, and they thought that if
he said it in the debate.
He said,
he talked about Project 2025. He talked about immigration in a lot of different ways, but every time he talks about immigrants, it is always negative, and immigrants bring so much to our country.
Yeah, but I think I got one of the clips here, Rachel. Let's look real quick.
Prisons and jails from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon.
He can't help himself. Bless his heart. But this is how he feels. Yeah, this is who he is, and this is how he feels, and you know exactly what you're getting with him. So no one can separate themselves because he was very open and honest about it. And again, the black jobs, everyone drink.
That was my first one, actually. I couldn't do the drinking game because I had to work afterwards, as you can see.
Yeah, my daughter has an early
Otherwise,
doctor's appointment, so I can't.
yeah,
And also, I was
I'd
helping
be
with math homework, so I
well,
was
hey,
just, I had a lot going on.
Speaking of drinking games, I did the drinking game. I was going to do a shot every time they mentioned veterans, service members, and military families, and I'm stone cold sober. So we noticed we didn't get to any of those topics, but I think there was probably some other things that deserved a little bit more daylight. And frankly, I saw one of the counters off to the side, that showed speaking time, and Donald Trump had much more speaking time than Kamala Harris had. I think that was a good thing because it really it laid all doubts to the side. He really just demonstrated how completely not unprepared, but just how completely how he should not be anywhere near the Oval Office ever again. Like he just unqualified, undignified, all of the fides. That's him.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I saw a great comment where somebody said that she was very disciplined, and I think we'll wrap here soon. Oh my God, 50,000 of you. Wow. Okay. Okay. I don't even know where to start. When I look at, we have a counter here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but wow. Look. In the end, she was very disciplined. She showed her prosecutorial chops. And look, one of my last comments, and I'll let everybody go, is something I've said to a lot of people. What you guys saw tonight, for a lot of people, just haven't seen Kamala Harris for the last 4 years. I hate to say, I have dear friends, people I'm close to, who said, well, she wasn't a great speaker before. 2019 was, and I've been seeing her speak at opportunities. I've had opportunities to see her to give interviews. She is a polished professional. She is a woman in her own at this time. She is very comfortable in her place, in her skin. You can see that. She was very comfortable at that podium. And I think my hope is that America saw that. Like, Americans who hadn't been paying attention just saw a very poised, qualified, and smart person who has every bit of the qualifications to be the president of the United States. My God, 21 years of public service. I did 20 years in the Army. She's been an elected official for 21 years of her adult life, and she's won election after election. There's no one who's been more qualified to serve as a president in decades. So my hope for tonight, and I'll go around to you guys next, is my main takeaway is I hope that my fellow Americans saw the Kamala that so many. I mean, my God, you guys, she went to HBCU tour. There was lines around the buildings. She went to community college tour. She's been out doing the job and has really become into her own as a professional, and as you saw tonight. So let's get it. I mean, we're there. I mean, Rachel, last thoughts?
She did her part. We got to do ours.
There you go. I like your thinking. Yeah.
My husband was in DC right now for a war game screening, the VoteVets Vet Voice documentary that's produced. Fred's in it, and she's coming home tomorrow. And I'm going to go speak to a women's group next week. I'm going to Fort Liberty to speak to some military spouses and groups there. Then I'm going to go to Phoenix, and the next week I'm going to Ohio and Michigan, and I'm going to get out there and talk to people and cheer on the people who are doing the work, because there's a lot of people doing, all women's groups. That's who I am. So I'm not trying to be someone I'm not, but do what you can do with the people that you can influence. And that's the thing. Don't try to be someone you're not. Be genuine. Talk to the people in your life. Make sure, like Patrick said, make sure they know where to vote. Do all that, but have the hard conversations. And she is giving us all the tools. She is easy to promote, easy to defend. And Donald Trump is a disaster. And it's easy to point that out. All the evidence is there. So we just have to make sure that people understand what's on the line. And we need to make sure people are registered and that they have a plan to vote and they know how to do it. So we got to go out and do our part. But she did a great job to help us.
Mike?
Hey, I think she said it best earlier in the debate when she said America is ready to just turn the page on this tired rhetoric.
Yeah.
And part of that is turning the page on Donald Trump. We've spent, an hour now talking mostly about Donald Trump and the many bumps and warts and pimples that he has. I don't think we collectively spend enough time on is what a solid candidate, and to Rachel's point, what a solid candidate and easily describable and defendable candidate that Kamala Harris is. And I think from here on out, we just got to stop talking about Donald Trump and we got to talk about Kamala Harris.
Hey, look, I'll just tell you from my main show, my other show on democracy, I've seen a difference when I have hopeful, positive, talking about the youth vote, talking about the potential in the next administration. More people watch. We're so tired. If I do a show banging on Donald Trump, people aren't showing up anymore because you know what? We are sick of it. And the thing is, the hope is real. The positivity is real. Yes, hope is a strategy in this case, and joy is a strategy.
The second part of that is, we all have people in our lives that think differently, that follow a different belief system. Got some that are on the blue side, some on the red side, some undecided, independent, fiercely independent, however you want to put it. But we have to come out of our own comfortable, warm silos where we get our daily dose of confirmation bias, and we hear the things that we want to hear, and we follow the people that we want to follow. And we have to get out and engage more with people who think and feel differently than us. And again, with this person that we can easily defend, that we could talk about someone with a plan versus someone with a concept of a plan. This is someone who's been for the people against someone who's been for himself. Like, we have to get out and engage in these last, the 55 days in a wake up, as we used to say, and do the work. Commenting and liking and sharing and whatever, that's great, but go vote. Do your social media stuff, but go vote. Get your friends to go vote. Make that the watch party. Is get a group, go vote, and then go to a bar afterwards or whatever. But do the things that are going to actually make a difference. And that's my bit for tonight. I'm glad to spend the time with you guys tonight.
I love it. And my last thing, as I say on all my shows, it's up to you. It's as my guest host has said the same thing. It's on us now. They're doing their part. It's clear that Vice President Harris and Governor Walz are doing their part. Their campaigns doing their part. Donors are doing their part. What are you going to do? I'm asking you that. What are you going to do? Let me tell you, and it's up and down the ticket, folks. There's a congressional race or a state level race where you live right now that desperately needs your help. They need someone to wave signs. They need someone to canvass. They need somebody to dial. You can, and it's not just your money. Believe it or not, I know lots of people can't just throw money around, but you can darn sure pick up the phone. You can go to the DNC's webpage or the Harris campaign webpage and sign up for events, sign up for, a chance to canvass or make phone bank. These are your chances to participate. Democracy is a participation sport. And if we really want to take this back and put this terrible period of our lives with Donald Trump in it behind us, it's up to all of us. And with that, we've talked to you for an hour, 52,000 you would join us. I want to thank my guest hosts, Rachel and Mike. It was always a pleasure to hang out with you guys. I don't get enough of it, even though it's midnight here on Eastern time. We're going to go to bed. I think my fiance has quit on me. She's sleeping. And so thank you for everything, you guys, and all of you wonderful viewers and followers of VoteVets. My last chance to tell you, we can tell you about VoteVets, votevets.org. We are supporting candidates across the country. We're doing incredibly important things, from bus tours to supporting those important things like the PACT Act. We are the organizations, the voice of the veterans, the progressive veterans who want to make a difference in our country. We would love you to kick in. I'd love you to give donations so that John Soltz keeps me around next year. That'd be awesome. And for all that, so check out votevets.org. If you're not familiar with us already, I think with so many people watching, you might not be. I think you'll love what we do. We've been doing this 18 years. A brilliant guy named John Soltz had this brilliant idea 18 years ago, and we're still going with a huge team of dedicated professionals who are here for the right reasons. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight. Look for more of our shows on the line with VoteVets right here on your VoteVets channels. We'll be doing a lot more interesting stuff. Going to talk more about the Project 2025 stuff coming up. In the meantime, get in the fight, folks, and we will see you soon.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.